The next type of learning that I want to discuss is operant conditioning. And it occurs when behavior is shaped by its consequences. And in operant conditioning, what is important to remember is that the reinforcer is the outcome or the consequence that shapes behavior. So, in essence, you do something and something good happen, you will have a greater tendency to repeat that particular behavior. If you do something and something bad happened as a result of it, or immediately following the behavior, that behavior decreases. The frequency of that behavior goes down. The first individual to systematically study operant conditioning was Skinner. So Skinner focused on measurable behavior, as pretty much all other behaviorists. Remember, for behaviorists, the important aspect that needs to be studied is observable behavior. And he studied how behavior can be modified. If you remember from chapter 1, when we looked at behaviorism, Watson, one of the most famous behaviorists, said, give me a child that's young enough and I can turn that child into anything I want. And that was based on the reinforcements or punishments that that child was going to be exposed to. So he exposed the child to particular reinforcement after a behavior, that behavior is more likely to be repeated. And going back to Skinner, one important contribution of Skinner was the fact that he developed what is still known today as Skinner boxes, where experimental condition can be maintained, meaning that in many different laboratories throughout the world, the same exact condition could be kept by using the same methodology and in particular the same box. Right? This is a Skinner box where you have a box with some plexiglass on it so that you can observe a behavior of, in this case, a rat. And the Skinner box has a lever located right here, and the rat can press that lever, and there's a chute here up on top where food or sometimes water can be dispensed. So if this rat is hungry, he will do anything he can to get food, to get a food pellet from this chute. And at first he might press this lever just by accident as he's moving around the cage, exploring what's in it, how perhaps he can get out. And if as soon as he presses the lever he receives a food pellet, the likelihood that he's going to press the lever again increases. And as a matter of fact, just after a few of these association between pressing a lever, receiving a food pellet, as soon as you put this rat in the cage, the rat will run over to the lever, press it, and receive a food pellet, or at least expect to receive a food pellet. So the operant conditioning can lead to a very quick learning. Now there's 3 types of reinforcements. Remember, reinforcements is the outcome that shapes the behavior. You can either have a positive reinforcers, which is something that the organism like, and that increases the probability of a behavior when it is added. Right? So you want to increase the probability that a child will do their homework, give them a candy afterwards, let's say. Negative reinforcer is another type of reinforcement that also increases the probability of a behavior, but this occurs by taking something that the organism doesn't like away. So you take away something that the organism doesn't like, as a result of a behavior so that the behavior increases. So let's assume, what a child wouldn't want to do. Let's assume that the child is made to clean the dishes after dinner, and she absolutely hates it. And what can be done, by using a negative reinforcer in relationship to the homework. You can say to this child, if you finish your homework, you don't have to clean the dishes tonight. Right? So you see, you're taking something away, cleaning the dishes, that the organism doesn't like, to increase the frequency of a behavior that you want to increase doing the homework. Punishment, on the other hand, the final type of reinforcement, decreases the probability of a behavior when it is added after a behavior. So you do something bad happens, you're less likely to do it. For example, you can shape, so shaping is like you can change the frequency of the homework by acting on its opposite, meaning you can act on not doing the homework. So if you don't do the homework, punishment will come, some sort of punishment that you inflict on that child. And so if you punish the not doing the homework, the frequency of doing the homework will go up, because the frequency of not doing the homework will go down. Okay, so you can also increase the frequency of a behavior using punishment by acting on its opposite. But again, you have to remember that the primary effect of a punishment is to decrease the frequency of a behavior. And here you have another example, when using a positive reinforcer to affect studying behavior in a student. If a student studies, they receive a positive reinforcer, teacher approval, a good grade, and the frequency of a behavior will go up. Using a negative reinforcer, again on that studying behavior, you can have the teacher disapproval as a consequence of not studying. And when you take that out, when you take away the teacher disapproval, then study goes up. Now, it's important to remember that reinforcers need to be provided immediately after the behavior. So the closer in time the behavior to the consequence of a behavior, the stronger the effect. So immediate reinforcers are much more effective than delayed reinforcers. If you wait too long, the reinforcer will have no effect. And here you have another example of a negative reinforcers versus the punishment. Again, we already went over this. Negative reinforcer, teacher's approval is removed. When you're using punishment, you are exposing, let's say, talking in class during a lecture as a behavior that you want to stop, and punishment in this case would be detention, and so the frequency of a behavior will decrease as a result of that punishment. Skinner, in the course of his studies, also discovered that you can manipulate the schedule of reinforcer. How frequently are you going to provide the reinforcer, the positive reinforcer, negative reinforcers, the punishment to the individual or to the organism? And so he compared, for example, continuous reinforcer, where after every, let's say, press of a lever, the organism, the rat, might receive a food pellet, to a situation where the reinforcer is only given every once in a while. It's called partial reinforcement. So he discovered that even though continuous reinforcer leads to the most rapid acquisition, so it's learned relatively quickly, at the same time it is more easily extinguished. So it's very easy to get rid of the association between behavior and the consequences. If you use continuous reinforcement and again with the pressing a lever, get a food pellet, pressing a lever, get a food pellet. As soon as you take the food pellet away, the rat will stop pressing the lever. After 2 or 3 presses, he will immediately stop. On the other hand, if you provide the reinforcer only every once in a while at various intervals, so sometimes you require 3 presses of the lever to release a food pellet, sometimes 10 presses, sometimes 2, sometimes 15, and it keeps on changing. So when the organism doesn't know when the reinforcer is coming, then it is hard to extinguish. As a matter of fact, there is the human equivalent of a partial reinforcement schedule for, that is a slot machine. In a slot machine, you never know when you're going to win, some money after pressing the lever. So you keep on pressing the lever, expecting to win, expecting the positive reinforcer to come. But because you never know when it's coming, then it's hard to extinguish, and the individual can actually become addicted to this type of behavior. Now, sometimes the behavior that we want to change is too difficult, it's too hard, and the organism will never behave in that way. So we will never be able to provide a positive reinforcer for that particular behavior. Let's assume that I want to train my dog to go down the end of a driveway and get the paper and bring it back to the house. Now, that behavior by itself is never going to happen. So what I can do instead is to shape behaviors that are closer and closer to the behavior that I want. So initially I might provide a positive reinforcer, say a treat for the dog by walking down the driveway. When that behavior occurs frequently as a result of the positive reinforcer, then I step it up a notch and I go on to the next level, which would be for the dog not only to walk down the driveway, but to go next to the paper and sniff it, and then take it, pick it up and then bring it back to the house. So one step at a time, I can shape the behavior into very difficult behaviors. Now I want to go back for a moment to the different types of reinforcer, positive reinforcer, negative reinforcer, and punishment, and talk for a moment about which one of these 3 is the strongest. And strangely enough, the strongest reinforcer, the one that changes behavior the most, is punishment. Now, even though punishment is the strongest, it has a number of negative consequences, so it should be used rarely, especially when dealing with human beings and in particular children. An overuse of punishment can lead to a phenomenon known as learned helplessness, where the individual will simply stop behaving. They will stop responding to the requests of the demands of their environment. Where a child, for example, will stop responding at all to their parents as a result of the fact that they've been punished too much, and what they actually do is that they expect to be punished no matter what. They've been punished so much that they believe that their behavior has no effect on their environment, and therefore they stop responding. And that, of course, is a very dangerous, potentially dangerous situation, because the parent then loses the ability to help their children and shape and their behavior, to make them behave in a positive way. And finally, I want to talk for a moment about social learning. And social learning is related in a way to operant conditioning, because we human beings, as well as some higher order animals, some animals that are cognitively more capable, are able to learn from observation, so that you don't necessarily have to behave yourself and then receive yourself either positive reinforcer, negative reinforcer, or a punishment. You don't necessarily need to do that in order to learn, but you can simply observe that phenomena, that association on other individual. So when you observe someone doing something and something good happens to them, you're more likely to copy that behavior that led to a positive outcome. On the other hand, you all know what happens when you're driving on a highway and you observe someone getting a ticket on the side of the road. Immediately everybody start slowing down having this fear of getting a ticket, because you have observed someone else being punished for their behavior, right? So you're certainly affected by the behavior of others and how their behavior is shaped by their consequences. And some animals, by the way, some monkeys, even some birds, appear to learn by observing other animals of the same species.